Well, good morning, Dave.
Morning, Mal.
We're keen to get an update from you on how the search for a new manager's going. We'll come on to that shortly. But just first of all, can you maybe give us your thoughts and views on the events last Monday with the announcement about Derek and Tony leaving the club?
Yeah, sure, Mal. Listen, there are relationships that get built up, and whether it doesn't matter what the business is, whether it's my software business is or the football club, it is always the hardest part of the job is when people part company, whether it be the club or any business for that matter. I mean, I've worked with Derek and Tony and supported them for almost 4 years now. This isn't just like kind of overnight. Derek is someone I have a tremendous amount of time for personally. I know his wife Nicola and the boys, and so there's a human part of this which is just not something you ever get used to. I'm 62 now. I've been in business for about 30 years, and it's the worst part of, as I say, of the role, kind of going through that.
You touched on it a wee bit there, but just how tough a conversation was it to have with Derek, and maybe some of the reasons as well?
Well, clearly, it's been well kind of documented that the performances and the results and the lack of goals since beginning of January, in particular. And I remember a conversation with Derek maybe about 6-8 weeks ago, where Derek said to me, and rightly so, look, Dave, if it ever gets to a stage, because the chairman-manager relationship is critical, where you think I've run my time at Aberdeen, I want you to be honest with me. And so on Monday last week, I had that conversation with Derek, where I said, Derek, it's my judgment that my judgment that I'm there as far as his time was concerned at Aberdeen. We had a very constructive conversation around the timing, and I explained to Derek that I didn't want to wait until the summer, where there's so many players out of contract that we would prefer to make the move now. And so we had that conversation. We came out with the mutual consent statement, and that's really kind of the rationale, behind it. And so as for the reasons, clearly, the performances over that period are challenging for the club. And so at the end of the day, it's a judgment from my perspective, and we felt the timing was right as a board to give a new manager coming in time to get ready for next season.
Dave, just before we move on, what legacy does Derek leave after his 8 years in charge?
Derek leaves a tremendous legacy. I like to kind of classify as the late 90s to 2013 when Derek came as almost years in the wilderness. Like many clubs, Aberdeen speculated based on potential TV money in the 90s and ended up building up debt of probably close to 15 million. And it took us the best part of 15 years to get rid of that debt. Derek came in and basically took the club from being perennial bottom six players and dragged it back onto its feet and put a level of professionalism into the club that is right across the board. And so Derek's legacy is being one of the most consistent managers in the history of this club, with top six finishes, with European football every year, and of course the 2014 League Cup win behind him, where we had a great day with 43,000 Aberdonians at Celtic Park. So Derek will be a tough act to follow.
Well, we thank Derek and Tony for their time and effort at Aberdeen, and a successful time, and we certainly wish them all the very best for the future. We now have to look forward though, Dave. So with that in mind, can you please tell the fans a bit about the process that's in place for finding a new management team?
Yeah, absolutely. When we finish this interview here, I'm spending time with some of the other board members to go through the applications and the approaches we made ourselves over the last week. It's only been a week. And just to make it clear for everyone's sake, not one person has been offered the job, guaranteed the job. Myself and nobody else that I know of is isolating in Aberdeen at the Crown Plaza. I didn't even know there was a Crown Plaza in Aberdeen. But we will go through a process, and it will take as long as it will take. It might take 2 weeks. It might take longer, but as a process we have to go through. People that know me, and you know me, Mal, I'm a real process guy, and it's important we go about it. But here's the key thing, Mal. We have got a strategy at the club that we put in place on and off the field in May of 2019. It makes it clear what we're about. I love the term, we may be wrong, but we won't be confused. There's a clear plan there. Off the field, we've made a number of changes, positive changes in my mind, as far as the club is concerned. Rob Wicks coming on board as our commercial director and Kevin McIver as our finance director. And we've grown our off the field revenues. And so similarly with the football operation, we have a clear strategy on the philosophy, how we want to play, and bringing younger players through the team as well. So we've got a clear criteria for what we're looking for. We'll sift through those applications this afternoon and get at the process as expediently as we can get.
So Dave, sorry, just to clarify on the timescale, you're basically saying it'll take as long as it needs to take?
Exactly, absolutely.
Just, it is a confidential process, so obviously careful what you say, but and without giving anything away, have you been surprised by the volume of applications or even some of the names that put themselves forward?
Yeah, there's been one or two, let's call them outliers if you like. I mean, we've had applications from Scotland, within Scotland itself. We've had applications from England, from Europe, multiple applications from the States. And so the thing to remember is that Aberdeen is a storied club. It is a highly sought after, it's a highly sought after position, you know. And I talked to Sir Alex Ferguson. He called me on Friday, and he reminded me that in his opinion, I agree with him, that Aberdeen Football Club is the hardest club to manage outside of Celtic and Rangers, and the hardest club to be chairman of, as he stated, you know, as well. It's a prestigious position for anyone.
Dave, it's your first appointment as Aberdeen chairman, first managerial appointment. It is a big decision. I mean, will you look to get advice from anyone? You obviously mentioned Sir Alex there. Anybody else? Yeah,
well, listen, we've got a strong board. I mean, for example, we've strengthened our board. Guys like Darren Eales, who managed Spurs and managed for Daniel Levy and managed West Brom, has got kind of great experience. And also, I've been encouraged, really enheartened by a number of the former players, whether it be a Willie Garners or Joe Harper, Bobby Clarks, that have kind of encouraged me. And I did get that call from Sir Alex on Friday, which was really nice of him. And he basically said to me, listen, Dave, as you look forward and make this appointment, the relationship between the chairman and manager is critical. And you make sure that you do your diligence, but you pick someone you feel is the right person for yourself to work with and for the club. He reminded me that in his mind, we've got a clear strategy in how we want to play, you know, and reminded me that Neil Simpson, for example, is a great asset and suggested that, and he is part of the interim team, that Neil Simpson be involved with the first team, because the guy is a winner, an absolute winner through and through, and really kind of epitomizes what it is to be an Aberdeen player. He reminded me as well that there's lots of people, perhaps pundits in the media, that don't want Aberdeen to do well, probably don't want me to do well, don't want Aberdeen to do well, ignore that, and said, listen, you find a coach that you can work with, someone that will go to Glasgow and aim to beat Celtic and Rangers. You know, don't look for kind of second best as far as that goes, and someone that is on the offense. And he did ask me as well, he said, how are you feeling about it, Dave? And I said, well, Sir Alex, I would say I'm nervous, but I'm really excited as well. And he said, good, that's exactly the way it should be. And he also suggested I lean on Bobby Clark, who I agree with Sir Alex is probably one of the best human beings I've ever encountered. So Sir Alex has made himself available as we go through this process for me to use him as a sounding board, and you can bet your bottom dollar or pound that I'll take him up on that.
Well, Dave, certainly, wish you good luck with the process. Until you find the right person, we've obviously got Paul Shearer and Barry Robson, along with Neil Simpson in charge, Scott Anderson and Gordon Marshall also there as well. But I know Paul, Barry and Neil, have the full support of everybody at the club, don't they, Dave? Very experienced, very much respected in the game. And it's vital that we'll all get behind them, because we've obviously got a massive game on Saturday. Yeah, listen, and these guys are all their own personalities. And they're also, as you know, Mal, their own men as well. They thrived under being a part of Derek's team, but they all have their own ambitions too. Paul is different to Barry. Everybody's different to Barry. Is different to Neil Simpson. What Neil brings to the table is that he has been the conduit from the youth academy. And we've got a great crop of young players coming through. He's been the conduit for these guys to go through to the first team, and he'll be there as part of that setup with a number of those younger players who are ready to kind of make their breakthrough. Barry, as you know, is Barry. He is a coach. He is a Bielsa. What's the word I want to use? Is a Bielsa believer in terms of the high press, in terms of attacking. And if you look at his under-18 team last year that went toe-to-toe, or the last season we played were Rangers. And Paul brings an astuteness, and some people think Paul's quiet at that, but Paul, there's a steeliness to Paul there as well. So we're in good hands through this process that we go through with these guys, and I'm sure they'll put their stamp on the rest of the season, or however many games it is that they are involved. We certainly wish them well. Dave, just while I've got you on, a couple other questions. You postponed a Q&A with fans. Can you maybe just give an update of when that will likely happen? So I'm sure they'd far rather put their own questions to you than listen to mine. Well, let's go back a step. We committed as a team to being open and transparent with our fans, right? And middle of January, committed to doing this live Q&A probably early to mid-February. Now, unfortunately, we went on a terrible run of games and not scoring. And right before, I think, the St Mirren game, that Thursday we met, and we all kind of agreed that it would be wrong to cancel the Q&A, and let's do it the next Tuesday. And of course, we drew with St Mirren on the Saturday. I woke up on the Sunday morning and said, you know what, I need to back out of this to give the team and the manager the room to breathe and not allow anybody to kind of pick up on the interview kind of negatively. So it was my decision to go ahead with the Q&A for
for the right reasons, I believed, but I made a mistake and I rectified it on the Sunday and I said it was postponed. We'll pick some time in the next couple of weeks where we'll do the live Q&A, and we still have all the questions kind of stored up from then, and there'll probably be some more questions that the fans will have as well. So we'll announce that in the next couple of weeks.
And Dave, just finally, I mean, no one said to you, I'm sure it'd be easy being a chairman of a football club. You have come in for some criticism, but knowing you the way I do, I'm sure it won't affect your long-term vision and ambitions for the club.
Look, constructive criticism is healthy, right? None of us are perfect. I am not perfect, far from it. But I like to say to people, judge me on how I respond. You know, so constructive criticism is fine and it's fair, right? And it's important to be kind of transparent about that. But look, it's part of the territory of being chairman of a football club, particularly Aberdeen Football Club. Some of the criticism from some of the media pundits and ex-players, criticism of me and of our fans for expecting too much. You know, there's a lot I'd like to say, but I will hold my tongue and rise above it. What I will say is this to those people is that, is it wrong of Aberdeen fans to want more than one trophy in 26 years?
Thank you for the update. I was just going to ask you, where are you? Because, I mean, according to some, you've been spotted in Aberdeen this week. So do you want to just...
So I'm actually at my son's house in Atlanta. And so it's my grandson's birthday today. So we're at his house. He's at school just now. We're actually, by the time change, we're 4 hours. We're 4 hours behind the UK just now. But it's his birthday, Peter's birthday today. He's a huge Dons fan. Loves Joe Lewis. It is my plan. I'm looking right now over the coming weeks to come back over to Aberdeen for a good period of time. So just trying to navigate through the testing and everything I need to do, because the last thing I want to do is fall foul of any of the quarantine stuff back home.
And we'll speak again soon.
Right. Cheers. Thanks, Mal.